How's it going, boys? Excuse my voice. The reason why it's gone like this is because of this video that you guys are about to watch. It got super heated whenever it came to the fire staff section. Once we get to that section, I will give you guys a little bit of explanation on what went down. But anyways, I want to give you guys a quick explanation about the whole video on its own. We are basing these abilities at tier depending on their perk. Like, the only two things I'm taking in consideration is just the ability and the perk for that ability. I'm not taking in consideration any other variables like the gear, weekend, rents, etc. Another person on your team. I'm not talking about those things. I'm talking about the ability themselves. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoy the videos and I'll see you guys in a little bit. All right, here we go, boys. So this is going to be a quick and easy ability tier list. All right, just to know where some of the weapons are and the abilities that need rework. All right, pretty much anything that is on C and D tier, AGS needs to take a look at that and rework those abilities because those abilities are completely and dog fucking shit. All right. This one is going to be PvP focus. We might do a PvE focus later on, all right? But this one, with that being said, let's go ahead and start. The first ability, Upheaval, this is a no-brainer. Upheaval is an S tier ability when it comes to PvP. Why? Because it's an incredibly hard-hitting ability. Not only does it hit incredibly hard, the animation is super fast. It reduces your sword and shield cooldowns. It has grits. And the perk that he has to transfer the debuff to the enemy made this ability incredibly fucking amazing. All right. Whirling Blade. Whirling Blade, unfortunately, is like a high B, low A tiered ability. What is incredibly reliable is an ability that is very easy to use with a relatively short cooldown and a very nice damage. The only problem is that using Whirling Blades without the Butcher, it's pretty much a dead ability. The Butcher is what makes Whirling Blade a decent ability when it comes to PvP. Without the Butcher, honestly, you should probably not be using Whirling Blade. All right. Leaping Strike. Leaping Strike is an S tier ability. It used to be an S tier plus ability, but they removed the stagger from it, which is amazing. And even after they removed the stagger of Leaping Strike still is an S tier ability because it's an ability that, again, it has a relatively medium-sized cooldown. You can use it offensively and defensively. If you use it offensively, you hit the enemy, you slow the enemy, and you will do an incredible amount of more damage to the enemy. What makes this ability great is that it's a very fast animation ability. You press it, you do it. And this is the only ability that allows you to traverse the map in ways that no other ability in the game can. You can go from the tip of a mountain, Leaping Strike, and just land in another continent. And no other ability in the game can do that. Leaping Strike, it is basically a staple ability for the Sword and Shield. Almost, it doesn't matter what Sword and Shield build you go for. Leaping Strike is pretty much always there. Shield Bash is an A tiered ability where the perk reduces the buff that the enemy has on them. The animation is incredibly fast. It's the longest stun in the entire game. And it also has grit. You know, there's not a lot of explanation that I need to go for this one. Shield Bash is really good. Shield Rush is also an S tiered ability. This is the only ability in the game that you don't even need to hit the enemy to get its full effectiveness, all right? The only thing, if you don't hit the enemy, that you won't do is the damage. But if somebody blocks the ability, which, by the way, I talked to AGS about this, and they said that this is wrong, that should not be the case. Because Shield Rush specifically says, on successful hits, all enemies within 5 meters inflict a 20% weaken. On successful hit, all enemies within 5 meters are slowed by 30%. Right now, this ability does not need to be a successful hit to apply a 5 meters 30% slow and a 5 meter 20% weaken for 10 seconds. The 20% weaken and the 30% slow on a 5 meter radius, no weapon can do that. It cannot be blocked. This effect will 100% of the time will always go out. These two things already make this ability S tier. But if that wasn't enough, this ability has a 5-meter range, which with this sync can be 6-7 meter range. And on top of that, this ability is one of the longest staggers in the game. Yes, you heard that correctly. Not all of the staggers have the same duration. Shield Rush is the #1 duration for staggers, staggering you long enough that you are allowed to even use another ability after that stagger and still hit the enemy. The other stagger that is close to the Shield Rush stagger, it is Evasion. But unfortunately, Evasion is a dodge ability, but we'll get to that in a minute. So it's a staggering ability. It's a semi-range ability. This ability has grit. This ability deals 100% strike damage, which is incredible for an ability that does so much. It is a 20% weaken and a 30% slow AoE. This ability is ultra strong and it cannot be anything other than S tier. In PvP, remember that this is for PvP, alright, chan? Defender's Resolve, this is an A tier ability. For PvP, if you go for a tankier approach, it is exceptional. This ability has grit. This ability heals you. This ability gives you a stupid amounts of movement and speed. And this ability is one of the only abilities in the game that reduces the flat out damage that you take. It's not a fortification. It literally reduces all of the damage that you take by 30%, regardless if you're light, medium, or heavy. Again, not a fortification. It will always reduce 30% of the damage. Also, while you have this, right, your stamina damage while blocking is increased by 20%, meaning that you take 20% less stamina damage. All right? And the fact that it gives you 30% of your base health at the end of the ability, or you can use this ability, weapon swap, and immediately gives you that 30% healing. And whenever you combine that with Divine and Recuperation, which all of incoming healing and regeneration is increased by 10%, this healing right here, it is nutty. Super, super strong and super, super good. All right, that does it for the Sword and Shield abilities. As you guys can see, incredibly good weapon. All right, then we go into the Rapier. Flurry in PvP is an A-tiered ability. It is super freaking good, mostly because of the perk. What makes this ability A-tier is the perk that it has, okay? The perk of Flurry gives you invulnerability for 0.5 seconds. And in PvP, that is crucial because you can use this ability even when nobody's around you just to make you invulnerable to damage that is coming from a distance. You can use Flurry offensively and defensively, and it is an amazing ability as long as you have the perk. If you do not have the perk on Flurry, this ability is like a C-tiered ability or a low-tiered ability, simply because of the animation that you are stuck in, and you don't get the bleed of Flurry until the last hit. So with the perk, it's an A-tiered ability. Without the perk, it's not so good. Then we have Flourish and Finish. I will say Flourish and Finish is a high A-tiered ability, low S-tiered ability. It is incredible. This ability is guaranteed damage as long as you hit the first hit. You have Grit. It's a stagger. You can use it both offensively and defensively, and it allows you to proc the Rapier bleeds to have one of the highest, if not the highest burst in the entire game. Flourish and Finish makes Rapier a fun and cool fucking weapon. This ability is so goddamn good in pretty much every scenario. Yeah, I mean, I don't have to say much about it, all right? It used to be so goddamn strong, they nerfed it, and it still is an S-tiered ability. Then we have Tondo. Tondo is either a high C or a low B ability. The reason why Tondo is in such a low, such a low rating is because Tondo on its own does not do a lot of damage. And the thing is, whenever you go for a Tondo build, you're pretty much telling the enemy what you will be already doing. And the idea is you're gonna get 1, 2, maybe 3 stacks, right? For you to proc, Flourish, and Finish. And after you have used 2 or 3 Tondos, the enemy already know what's coming, so they can simply block. And in the time that you were using Tondos, you probably will get out-traded and you will take more damage than you were doing. It is a setup ability that unfortunately, it requires too much of a setup. The best way to use Tondo, honestly, is using it with just one stack if you're going to use it with evade. You use a Tondo, evade, flourish, and finish. Because the other thing about Tondo is that it has a pretty clunky animation. You go, and then you kind of stand there for like a split second doing nothing. You have to, if you use Tondo, you gotta use evade. Because that Tondo and locking you there is pretty fucking annoying. 9 out of 10 times you're gonna use Tondo, animation cancel evade. Because the animation is just too long. The damage is not high enough. And it's just, you know, it's just too much. It's not that good. Then we have Flash. Flash is an S-tiered ability. This is a damaging ability that deals very high damage. That you can also use it as a mobility both offensively and defensively. And the perk for this ability is very good, especially if you are like healer that you would like to run away. And the good thing about Flash is that it goes through enemy and it goes through allies. This ability is always been S tier. It will always be S tier simply because, again, not that very long of a cooldown. It deals very high damage. And it's both mobility, you know, you can use offensively and defensively. Super awesome ability right there. Then we have evade, which is also an S-tiered ability. I don't even need to talk about it, all right? Evade is the only ability in the game that can animation cancel literally everything. Evade can animation cancel things that would not be able to be animation canceled before. And that makes this ability insane. Not only that, the entire Rapier, by just using evade, is a better version of the Rapier. In PvP, it's an iframe. You can use it to take distance. You can use it to run away. You can use it to get out of gravity wells. You can use it to walk towards the enemy. It has so many uses. And the fact that it is an iframe with a relatively non-existing cooldown makes evade an insanely powerful S-tiered ability. So good. It procs Shark and heal. Yes, insanely powerful. Then we have repos. Repos, while repos is good, you need the perk for repos if you want to play offensively. The main problem with repos, it is that if you play repos without evade, that is a recipe for failure. Because unless people are just spamming abilities on top of you, if you go with a repos, the enemy will be like, oh, wait a minute. Bang! They can, because you will be stationary waiting there for the repos animation to be over. And if the enemy doesn't hit you, you feel like the biggest idiot in the world. And that's where evade comes in handy. You use repos, you see that the enemy is not going to hit you, you evade backwards and run away. Or you evade forward, right? Repos needs evade to be decent, to be very good. And repos needs the perk to be very good offensively. Without the perk and without evade, repos is just like a low B tiered ability, high C tiered ability. And let's say that the enemy is spamming abilities and attack. The animation for you to stun them also is pretty long. Meaning that 9 out of 10 times, if you're fighting against somebody that knows what they're doing, they proc repos, they either block, roll away. You know what I mean? So yes, that is where repos stand. People used to get hit so much by repos. Now they know. Yes, now they know. Pharaoh Rush. Pharaoh Rush is a low D, low C, high D ability. The reason why Pharaoh Rush is so low over here is because of the long animation that he has, and he locks you in the animation. It deals a pretty decent amount of damage. But the problem is how hard it is to land. 9 out of 10 times, you need to stun the enemy, or the enemy needs to be locked down for you to be able to hit with Pharaoh Rush. It's just the animation makes this ability be very, very clunky and unreliable in most scenarios. Berserk is an S-tiered ability even after the nerf. And what makes this ability S-tiered ability, forget about the perk. All right, the fact that this is the only ability in the game that you can use to get out of any CC that exists, except for knockdowns, of course. If you're stunned, rooted, and like just slow, fucked up, you use Berserk and you immediately start running away. You have 5 seconds of great immunity that you cannot get, like knocked down, knocked back, or staggered. So, right, you can still get rooted or stunned. And the perk makes this ability, makes you do an incredible amount of damage. Berserk is insanely good in pretty much every single one of the scenarios. Then we have Raging Torrent. Raging Torrent is a high A tiered ability, simply because this ability deals very, very high damage. The animation of this ability is incredibly fucking fast, and you can animation cancel relatively easy, and you can bob and weave this ability basically anytime you get a chance. You can do 1, 2, 3 swings super fast, and this makes the Hatchet have one of the highest single target bursts in the game. Very, very, very fucking good ability, all right? Then we have Rendering Throw. Rendering Throw is an A tier ability because it has a very low cooldown, and you know, it's a range ability, and it ranges the enemy by an incredibly high amount. Anything that has a rend as high as Rendering Throw and as low cooldown as Rendering Throw, it will always be incredibly good for both PvP and PvE. But again, this is just PvE only. But yes, Rendering Throw having such a low cooldown, basically making that spammable and having that amazing effectiveness that it has, is really, really good. We have Social Distancing. Social Distancing is an S tiered ability. We don't even need to argue this, right? It's an ability that is an iframe. It can proc healing, it can proc shirking heals. It roots the enemy. It deals a very nice amounts of damage. It slows the enemies. It gives you movement and speed. You can use it both offensively and defensively, and is the only ability in the game that is a range root. The fact that it's the only range root in the game makes Social Distancing special and better than almost any other root in the game, for the single fact that it has so many uses. You can use it for damage. You can use it to attack. You can use it to run away. You can use it to get movement and speed. You can use it to lock down enemies. It's a stellar ability. Everywhere you use Social Distancing, it will always be good. Then we had Poopy Throw. Poopy Throw, it is... Oh, and did we say about the perk about Social Distancing? That if you hit the enemy with a perk in Social Distancing, the cooldown gets reduced by up to 50%, making Social Distancing an ability that can be as low as a 3-second cooldown. So you can hit a melee player with a Social Distancing, get a little bit of distance, and by the time they are next to you, you can hit them with another Social Distancing and get away. And by the time they're next to you, you can always hit them. You can basically spam Social Distancing back to back to back as long as you're hitting the enemy. And that alone makes the... Dude, it's crazy. All right? Then we have Infected Throw. Infected Throw without the perk is an S tier ability because it is a AoE, long range, on-demand, anti-heal, and exhaust. There's no other anti-heal in the game like Poopy Throw. The only other thing that comes relatively close is the Vital Bomb, the anti-heal spit. But imagine Poopy Throw is like that hard rune, but all the time. You know, you can throw it into the clumps. Not only that, Poopy Throw does an insane amount of damage. This ability can hit you for 4, 5, even 6 fucking thousand. This ability hits so hard that getting hit by this ability in PvP immediately makes you lose almost every fight. Because he has one of the highest anti-healing in the game. He has the highest exhaust in the game. Alright? You don't even need to hit with it to apply the anti-heal to the enemy. And if you do hit the enemy, you chunk the living shit out of it. This ability has so many effects into it that is super, super amazing. And yes, it is S tier. Then we had Smite. Smite for PvP is an S tier ability simply because of the perk. Without the perk, Smite would be like a B tier ability. But the PvP perk of Smite makes Smite one of the best abilities when it comes to right here. Burning in Smite. Smite penetrates 11% of the target armor. Who cares? Right here. Smite hits against player, extend their active cooldown by 35%. That is a ridiculous amount. Making all of your active abilities that you have on cooldown have a 35% more cooldown. This changes the entire tides of a battle. And this is ultra powerful in large scale PvP and in arenas. Whenever you can hit 1, 2, 3 enemies with that burning in Smite, making the healer's ability to heal much lower. And just in general, the fact that you can extend the cooldown of all of their abilities by a 35%, that is absurd, incredibly powerful. All right. Then we have Vortex, another S-tiered ability. And Vortex, it just does too much. Vortex deals a pretty good amount of damage. Vortex cleanses yourself and your allies. It gives you invulnerability to CC that is scaled with focus. Right? It gives you empower. It also heals you. It is a bunch of things in one ability. The only one thing about Vortex is that it doesn't have a lot of mobility. So once you use it, you're pretty locked down in that location. But even though you are locked down in that location, this ability is incredibly powerful in pretty much every situation. If you're running away from an enemy, you use Vortex, you can heal yourself, right? If you have the enemy on top of you, you use Vortex, you slow them, you root them, you give yourself an empower, you cleanse yourself. It is just so much in one ability that even the downside of the ability does not outweigh all of the good things the ability has. Arcane Eruption is an A-tier ability. It is a lot of damage, right? A lot of damage, and it weakens the enemy. Unfortunately, it's an ability that doesn't have any tracking. It's an ability that if the enemy is like a couple of meters away, you will most likely miss. It does have like a 2-3 meter range, which that makes you give you a little bit of leeway. But Arcane Eruption without the trip, it loses a lot of value. And 9 out of 10 times, you don't want to do Arcane Eruption without the trip, simply because this is the #1 damage of the Flail. And if you miss it, then, well, you now need to wait for it. Then we have Barrage. In my opinion, Barrage is a B-tiered ability simply because of the animation is way too long and is way too predictable. This ability is a guaranteed shuriken heal proc for the enemy. This ability is allowing the enemy to use a potion, to retreat, to do so many things. Barrage is only utilized if you are a tanky player. But even then, whenever you're a tanky player, it's probably better to go with Crowded Bludgeon, Vortex, right? And then maybe even a trip. You can go for Barrage and it's cool and all, but unfortunately, the damage that it deals is not high enough. And it's way too predictable of an ability. And I don't think the perk of Barrage is even that good. Let me see. Accelerating Barrage. After hitting a target with Barrage, main attack, you gain a 27% haste for 5 seconds. So the main attack is when you do the front flip and you smack the ground, right? That is the difficult part about it, is because that double front flip into smacking the ground, you barely ever hit. It's just too slow of an animation, and unfortunately, it's just not good enough. Then we had Trip. Trip is an A-tiered ability simply because it's in super fucking fast and it has a low cooldown. And on top of that, it weakens and it doesn't weaken. And on top of that, it rends the enemy, okay? So it rends the enemy. It's one of the longest knockdowns in the game, by the way. Trip is one of the longest knockdown in the game. Such a fast animation and a very low cooldown, allowing you to use this ability both defensively and offensively. And I mean, not much to say about it, all right? Then we have Crowded Bludgeon, and Crowded Bludgeon, if you are a tank player, it is an A-tiered ability. If you're not a tank player, then, you know, you will never really use it. And the best thing about Crowded Bludgeon is how much fortification it gives you and how much fortification it gives your allies. So if you are a support Flail class, Crowded Bludgeon is actually incredibly useful. Now, the thing about Crowded Bludgeon is that it's like a large-scale ability. Using it in a small scale scenario, like in a 1v1 or like a 2v2, it loses a lot of value because you could use another ability that is just better for that single fight. All right. Then we have Spear Cyclone. A Spear Cyclone is an S-tiered ability. It is an insanely high damage ability, insanely fast animation. It gives you a shitload of stamina back, and it gives you a shitload of health back. I don't even need to say anything else about Cyclone. It gives you stamina, it gives you health, it has grit, fast animation, high damage, no-brainer, S-tiered ability. Then we have Javelin. Javelin is like a C-tiered ability. While Javelin is incredibly good, the only problem with it is the relatively long cooldown. Is also very predictable in a 1v1 and stuff like that. And the hitbox is very small. You know, it's one of those abilities that if you miss, you're fucked. Because that ability ain't coming back for a minute. You know, it's like you put a lot of effort into landing this ability, and if it doesn't land, you feel very, very weak and very stupid. All right? Then we have Leg Sweep, Coup de Grace. Leg Sweep, Coup de Grace is like a very high A-tiered ability. It has a very low cooldown. It has grit. And it has the follow-up Coup de Grace, which hits incredibly fucking hard. The only problem with this ability is that it's a very predictable ability because whenever the spirit is walking towards you, you know that that sweep is coming. And if you do end up missing the sweep, you will be locked down in an animation that you can get punished for it. But if you do hit and even, you know, it's just a very good ability for what it does. The grid, the low cooldown, the sweep, which is a CC follow-up with Coup de Grace, is really good. The only problem is that it's a very close range ability, very predictable, and it has a long animation. Can you make this a video, please? Yes, this will be a video, Jimmy. Then we have Perforate, pretty much the same scenario as a Leg Sweep. It's incredibly powerful. It has a 30% rend. It has a 30% weaken. It deals a massive amounts of damage, but the only problem is it is a relatively close range ability that it locks you down on a very long animation, right? If you do connect Perforate, oh my god, the enemy's done. You know, the enemy's done. And on top of that, you have the perk, which it gives you the fortification. So if you're like medium and heavy, it's really, really powerful. For the Leg Sweep, the perk, you apply more bleed to the enemy, but unfortunately, is on the second stab, not on the initial sweep. Then we have Skewered. Skewered, again, is a very high A-tiered ability, almost S-tiered ability. Is the highest weaken in the entire game. And it has some sort of mobility, meaning that you can use it to get out of like a gravity well. You can use it to get out of like an ice shower. You can use it to like catch up to the enemy. The only problem with this ability is, again, the lock animation that it has. Once you start that ability, there's no stopping it. And if you miss the ability, then you will also feel very stupid. Because if the enemy dodges, it opens them up to burst you down or to hit you back, and you get punished a lot if you end up not hitting this ability. And if the enemy is running circles around you, there's a lot of times that you're not going to hit with this ability. You're going to use it, the enemy is going to move, and the ability is just going to go, and it's gone, you know? Then you have Volt Kick. Volt Kick is a B-tiered ability, simply because the stun from Volt Kick is not a very high stun, the duration. So if you have like 1 or 2 freedom, you can get out of this stun relatively fast. The best thing about Volt Kick is that it reduces the cooldown of your spear by a lot, and it deals a lot of stamina damage. But other than that, it's also another ability that it locks you in an animation. Once you start doing Volt Kick, there's no stopping it. And it's an ability that is also quite predictable and very easy to dodge. Getting hit with the skewer feels like a curse from the PvP island. Just run away. Yes. And that's why it's an A-tiered ability. But getting hits with skewer is sometimes pretty difficult depending who you're fighting against. All right. And that does it for the spear. Then we have charge. Charge is an S tier ability. This ability has an incredibly fast animation. This ability has a very long distance. This ability has grid. And this ability deals a motherfucking massive amounts of damage. And this ability allows the Great Axe to have an incredibly high burst because you can do left click animation cancel charge for 2 big succession hits that are incredibly fast. The fact that this ability has grid and it has such a fast animation, it is super good in pretty much every scenario. The only downside to this ability is that it gets stopped by teammates. But, you know, if it didn't get stopped by teammate, then this ability will be ultra broken and it will be like an S+ tiered ability. All right. Refreshing charge made this ability have a very, very, very low cooldown. And I have hit charge with like 5, 6, up to 7,000 damage with a charge ability. And that is fucking nuts. Then we have Reap. Reap is a very high A tier, basically borderline S tier. Reap deals very high damage. Reap is a stagger and a pull that roots the enemy and slows the enemy, and on top of that, it heals you. The only problem with Reap is the animation. If you miss the Reap and you have the follow-up attack on the Reap, you will feel very clunky, you know. And if you miss that animation and the enemy dodges to the right, you will be susceptible to CC, to burst, to a lot of things. Reap with the perk is S tier in my opinion. Borderline S tier. Yeah, borderline S tier. The only problem with Reap is that animation lock. Once you start it, you cannot interrupt it. You have to finish it. You know, especially if you have the second swing. Very, 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 very strong ability. Very high A tier, low S tier, but it still is an amazing ability. Then we have Execute. Execute is like a high C tiered ability, low B tiered ability. It is niche and it works nice in 1 out of 37 builds. But for the most time, this ability gets outshined by Upheaval and by so many other abilities. This ability right here is pretty poo-poo. Pretty poo-poo in 9 out of 10 scenarios, you know. What else we have? We have Maelstrom. Maelstrom also the same as Reap. Very high A tier, very low S tier. This is an ability that deals great amounts of damage, right? It blocks projectiles from enemies. It pulls the enemies back into the clumps. And it is very, very strong. It also has grid on the first rotation. The only problem with this ability is that if you do not connect the first, the first Maelstrom on the enemy, now you are susceptible to get CC, out damage, stagger, rooted, leg sweep. So many things that can happen if you don't land the Maelstrom. It is also an ability that once you start it, you cannot interrupt it. You have to finish it. And if you miss it, you know, it feels very weak because it locks you on that double swing. It is very fast animation, but still it locks you down animation. It's still very high A, very low S. You're accurate as fuck when it comes to a tier list, not gonna lie. Thank you, Holding. Then we have Whirlwind. Whirlwind is also like a... Whirlwind is like a B tiered ability. Wait, no, hold on. This is Maelstrom. This is Whirlwind. Whirlwind, unfortunately, is like a... It's honestly, it's a C tiered ability. Whirlwind in most scenario is not a good ability because it's a very low damaging ability. And, it's just not good enough to be considered an awesome ability. The only thing that makes Whirlwind a high B tier, A tiered ability is Tempest Fury. Tempest Fury takes Whirlwind and makes it very good. And the only thing that makes Whirlwind with the Tempest Fury an A tiered ability is because of what Whirlwind does. You know, Whirlwind, all things considered, especially with the perk, is pretty decent, right? So where is it? Increases your movement speed by 100%. That is very, very, very good. If you have 3 or more foes around you, your base weapon of the damage increases by 15%, maximum 5 targets. So you can get up to like 75% increased damage if you have 3 targets around you. And the good thing about Whirlwind is that the perk of Whirlwind is very, very nice. Whirlwind hits grant 45, increasing your armor by 16% and your slash damage by 13% for 5 stacks for 2 seconds. Meaning that your Whirlwind at the beginning is not going to be that good, but as it progresses, it becomes so much more stronger. And this is why Tempest takes Whirlwind from a D tier to a B high, to a high B, low A tiered ability, because you end up doing like 60% more damage and you end up getting like an 80% fortification. But without the 12 spin from Tempest Fury, you can barely ever get those bonuses, making Whirlwind, like I said, like a C tiered ability with the artifact, low A tiered ability. Why? Because you can use it offensively and you can use it defensively. It has grit and it ends up doing a pretty significant amounts of damage if you have Tempest Fury. Legit useless unless you use Tempest Fury. It is not useless because you still, it still has grit and you can still spin away. It is not an ability that I would recommend anybody to use unless they're using Tempest. Then we have Gravity Well. Gravity Well is a high A tiered ability, low S tiered ability. I'm gonna put it on a low S tiered ability because the game in large scale PvP revolves around Gravity Well. The only problem is that Gravity Well loses an insane amount of value the less people are in the fight. In a 1v1, not that good. Very easy to avoid, very easy to dodge, very low cooldown, very high cooldown. In a large scale PvP, oh my fucking god. One of the best, if not the best ability in the game when it comes to large scale PvP. This ability makes large scale PvP easy. Without Gravity Well, the game would not be what it is today. Gravity Well has shaped the large scale PvP scene since the very beginning of the game. And it will continue to do so as long as Gravity Well does what Gravity Well do. Then we have Miley Cyrus, also known as Wrecking Ball. All right. Wrecking Ball is an A tiered ability, low A tiered ability, high B tiered ability, right? The best thing about Wrecking Ball is the perk that it has. It is a flatten the enemy, but it gives you a pretty decent fortification. I'm gonna put it here on C tiered ability. The only problem with Wrecking Ball is the animation lock that it has. It has a stupid animation lock. Stupid. It locks you in an animation like if you don't hit the enemy, is very... Back in the day, you could do like a 360 with Wrecking Ball. And back in the day, Wrecking Ball was A tiered ability. Right now, it's like a B, C tiered ability. It has lost an incredible amount of value. And one of the best things about Wrecking Ball, again, is like the passive that it has, right? This one right here, unsuccessful hit, it gives you a 20% fortification for 7 seconds. That is incredibly good if you are a bruiser or a tanky boy. Again, it's a very good flatten and is insanely good. It has a relatively short cooldown as well. Wrecking Ball will be B tiered if you actually had good tracking. Yes, the only problem with Wrecking Ball is the animation lock. And because of the animation lock, it cannot be higher than a B tier, but it's between a C, B tier right now. All right. Then we have Mighty Gobble. Mighty Gobble, in my opinion, is an A tiered ability. This ability hits ultra fucking hard. It has a fast ass animation. And the weekend with Mjolnir, it is super fucking good. Getting hit by Mighty Gobble, you feel it in the nuts, bro. You're like, ah! It's one of those abilities that whenever you get hit by it, you need to disengage to fucking recollect your thoughts and come back into the fight. It is crazy. Very, very strong ability, and even stronger whenever you use it with Mjolnir. Armor Breaker is an S tier ability, no questions about it. Armor Breaker, it is so fucking good. Very fast animation. It destroys armor. It deals massive amounts of damage. This thing is so fucking good in pretty much every scenario. Large scale PvP, PvE, small scale PvP, anything. Super amazing of an ability. This ability replaced Wrecking Ball a long time ago. Armor Breaker is a stellar ability. Then we have Shockwave. Shockwave is a high A tiered ability. The higher the numbers in PvP, the better it will be. The lower players in the combat, the harder it is to hit. But it's an ability that is a very big AoE stun that gives you grid. And whenever you use Shockwave in a clump, it is very, very useful. Because even if the people get awakened immediately, it is a interrupt that locks down people. And it is also a Ren. In large scale PvP, very, very, very high tier. In low scale PvP, in a small scale PvP, it's a B tiered ability. Clear It Out is a B tiered ability. The only problem with Clear It Out is the animation that it has. And 9 out of 10 times, you need to use Clear It Out together with Shockwave. But when Clear It Out hits, it's one of the highest rents in the game, combined with a decent amount of damage and combined with a knockback. This is a decent ability that can be incredibly useful in some niche builds, assassin builds. The only problem with Clear It Out is just simply the animation. It is too long. It locks you down in place, and in small scale PvP, it's virtually impossible to land it unless you hit the enemy with a Shockwave. And in a large scale PvP, the majority of the people have grits in the clump, so you will not be able to push them back. Yes, you will be able to apply the Ren, but that will be everything you do with that ability in a large scale PvP. Shockwave will always be better than Clear It Out in large scale PvP because it interrupts everybody in place. It also gives him much smaller Ren, but it still is a Ren, and it's just a lot more reliable when it comes to PvP than Clear It Out. Then we have Path of Destiny. Path of Destiny is a low A tiered ability. In large scale PvP, is incredible. Incredible. It heals you for a tremendous amount. It slows and staggers everybody that it hits. It is also an exhaust, giving them less stamina regeneration. You can use this ability both offensively and defensively. It has an incredible amount of range, makes this ability useful in pretty much every PvP scenario. It is very good in large scale PvP, super good in large scale PvP, and it also has very good uses in small scale PvP. Large scale PvP is S tier, small scale PvP is C tier. That's exactly why it's a low A tiered ability, right? There you go. Then we have Relentless Rush. Relentless Rush is a S tiered ability. This ability gives an incredible amount of mobility and utility. This ability can get you out of any route. This ability is, I think, in my opinion, the best Greatsword ability right next to Calamity Counter. But we're going to get to that in a second. This ability makes you do some of the highest damage in the game with the Greatsword. It's an ability that you can use both offensively and defensively. And the fact that the perk removes every single slow and roots in the game makes this ability insanely powerful and S tier. It puts you in onslaught stance, allowing you to go big dig damage. Then we have Crosscut. Crosscut is a high B tiered ability, low A tiered ability. The best thing about Crosscut is that you can send out 2 very fast swings and have a very decent amount of damage. The only problem lies is that it's a very predictable ability if you're gonna go for the triple slashy. If you go for the third slash, 9 out of 10 times, the enemy will roll and punish you for it. not getting the best out of it. But it is one of the hardest hitting abilities in the game if you are able to connect all 3 hits. The only problem relies on hitting those 3 hits. But just by simply using the 1-2 that it has, it makes this ability just good enough to be an A-tiered ability. On top of that, it has grit. And if you use it from Defiant Stance, you have CC invulnerability, meaning that you are immune to every CC in the game. Root, stagger, fucking knockback, stun, everything there is. Then we have Skyward Slash. Once again, a low A-tiered ability. It is a stagger with a very nice anti-heal. The problem goes whenever you want to go for the second swing. If you want to go for the second swing on Skyward Slash, it's very predictable. It does a pretty good amount of damage, but once again, it's very predictable and you lock on the animation. But this ability, having the anti-heal that it has on the first swing, also having the stagger on the first swing, and giving you the ability to just go for the first swing and not do anything, or go first swing and then second swing, it gives you a versatility to make this ability an A-tiered ability. Then we have Steadfast Strike. Steadfast Strike is an S-tiered ability. This is probably second, or I will say this one is probably, second best ability in the Greatsword. This ability deals incredibly high amounts of damage. On top of that, it puts you in Defiant Stance. On top of that, it staggers the enemy. And on top of that, it reduces your cooldown, so the Greatsword tremendously. And on top of that, you can go for the perk that can get rid of every debuff in the entire game. You could have 8 cancer and 7 different STDs that you use a Steadfast Purification, and you get rid of every single one of them. You lower the Greatsword cooldown, you stagger the enemy, and you heal yourself for a tremendous amount as well. And if that wasn't enough, this ability gives you a shitload of stamina recuperation. Restore 20 stamina on each hit, meaning that if you hit the enemy with both hits, you get 40 stamina, right? It's a 160% weapon damage. That staggers, pulls the enemy, it heals you, it reduces your cooldowns, it removes your debuff. It is so goddamn powerful, it's nothing better than S tier. Then we have Calamity Counter. Calamity Counter is a low S tier, high A tiered ability, okay? The thing that makes Calamity Counter a low S tiered ability is honestly the perk. Morning from Australia, good morning, Gaiden. The perk for Calamity Counter, it is one of the strongest perk in the entire game. Energizing Counter, here it is. When Calamity Counter is activated, you immediately gain 51 stamina, you guys. 51 stamina, meaning that you could literally roll out of stamina, use Calamity Counter, get half of your stamina bar back, and be immune to all of the damage that you will receive. On top of that, it blocks every single damage that you take at 100%. In Calamity Counter, you can use it, you can block even if you don't have stamina. It is insane. Insane. If you are able to hit the enemy with Calamity Counter after they hit you 4 times, it also is a knockback and it deals over 300% weapon damage. It's a very high hitting ability. It gives you the best stamina in the game. It protects you against every damage in the game. The only downside to it is that you are locking that animation right there, and sometimes it can be rather predictable if you don't animation cancel it with a roll away. But other than that, this is a S-tiered ability. Then we have Roaring Rupture. Roaring Rupture is an A-tiered ability. 50 stamina on demand is crazy shit. Not only 50 stamina on demand, holy, 15 stamina on demand and 100% damage mitigation, with the possibility to stagger and knock back the enemy. And it puts you on Defiant Stance, which you can start spamming heavy attacks with the block in front of you. So good. Roaring Rupture. Roaring Rupture is a pretty decent ability. low A tiered ability. It has some okayish damage. Nobody will really use it for the damage. The best thing about Roaring Rupture is that it gives you invulnerability to CC, and it removes 2 debuff from self. And that alone makes this ability an A tiered ability. The perk is a slow in Rupture, which is a slow on the enemy, not that detrimental, and doesn't really add much value to the ability. And 9 out of 10 times, you wouldn't even go for that perk because, again, it's just not good enough to justify putting that perk in the gear. But by removing the 2 debuff, putting you in Defiant stance, and giving the assassin vulnerability, Roaring Rupture makes this place to an A tiered ability. Then we have Poison Arrow. Poison Arrow is an S tiered ability. Is the only damaging ability in the game that you don't need to hit the enemy, and it has a 100% hit chance as long as the cloud is next to the enemy. The enemy cannot roll Poison Arrow, and Poison Arrow can hit an unlimited amount of people. With a recent reduction of cooldown by over 30%, makes Poison Arrow an incredibly reliable ability for small scale PvP, large scale PvP, and it deals a very, very high damage. And the fact that you can never miss this ability puts this ability in a very good S tier spot. Then we have Evade Shot. Evade Shot is a D tiered ability, high C tiered ability. Okay, most of the time it will be a C tiered ability. Whenever you are fighting against somebody that knows what they're doing, then it becomes a D tiered ability. If you're using it against somebody that doesn't know what they're doing, then it could be a B tiered ability. But it's gonna round up pretty much to a very low C tiered ability. It does have a very nice stagger, and if you hit the enemy, you can get some nice speed and stamina back. But the thing is, the damage that it has is not good enough. And as I was saying, most of the time, whenever you're fighting against a experienced skill player, Evade Shot will not do anything good for you. The best thing that this ability can do is stagger the enemy if the enemy is like out of stamina. It's also a rather inaccurate ability, meaning that whenever you jump in the air, you don't have full accuracy where you want that arrow to go. It does have a pretty forgiving hitbox, making Evade Shot sometimes land, even though you 100% missed it, but it still is not going to be a decent ability. Then we have Rain of Arrows. Rain of Arrows is an A tiered ability. It has very high initial damage. It has an incredibly good slow. It has a very long bleed. But what makes Rain of Arrow the best, what makes Rain of Arrow an A tiered ability is the incredible range that it has. You can use Rain of Arrows from Everfall and hit people in Greatsword. This ability has an insanely fucking long ass range. You can use this ability from so far away, land on top of a massive clump, do massive amounts of damage, apply that slow and that bleed to everybody. And the fact that you can use it from so far away makes this ability very, very reliable in both large and small scale PvP. You can use this ability behind a pillar for the people that are hiding to fucking like get them out. It is very, very, very good ability for large scale PvP, and in small scale PvP, it also has incredible uses, and the animation is not that long. In a 1v1, it's somewhat predictable, but you can still use it to force the enemy to roll and to zone them out. Then we have the Triple Rapier's ability. Triple Rapier's ability is a very high single target damage ability with very high animation. If you're able to land the 3 shots, it's massive amounts of damage. You get a lot of cooldowns back. The perk for this ability, it makes you always do a very decent amount of damage regardless of who you're fighting against. And the fact that you can do just the 1-2 with this ability as a replacement for 2 basic attack is incredibly powerful. Basically being identical to cross-cut, that you use it most of the time for the 1-2 sort of thing, and then you roll away out of it. You know what I mean? Then we have Pen Shot. Pen Shot is a low A tiered ability. Very, very decent amount of damage. Very, very fast animation. And it can go through a lot of target. It is a high B tier, low A tier. Unfortunately, it does not have anything special other than just like a heavy attack on demand that comes out really, really, really fast, okay? The perk for pen shot is not good at all. Then we have explosive arrow. Explosive arrow is an S tier ability. This ability has basically infinite range. This ability has a very fast animation. This ability has a very big AoE, which is very forgiving. And if you go for the contained explosion, then it deals very high single target damage. And explosive arrow is the hardest hitting ability on the bow, and is an incredibly hard hitting ability, you know, overall. It is super fucking reliable in small scale PvP, in large scale PvP. It's always good regardless whenever you use explosive arrow. All right, that does it for the bow. Then we're gonna talk about the musket. Powder burn is an S tier ability, very high damage. The perk is really good. It slows you down tremendously. Very, very good burn as well. And it has I mean, it doesn't have that long of a cooldown. It's what, like an 18-second cooldown. The duration of the burn is very, very long. And this ability is staple ability for the musket, because whenever you hit the enemy with a powder burn, it increases the damage of your musket by like over 30%. So hitting the enemy with powder burn makes everything on your musket do so much more damage that it makes this ability an S tier ability for the musket. Then we have power shot. Power shot is a high B tiered ability when it comes to PvP, simply because it doesn't do much. It's just do high damage, and that's pretty much it. Power shot is exclusively, most of the time, a PvE ability. For PvP, it just simply gets outshined by other abilities, and since this is PvP, it cannot be better than a B tier. Then we have shooter stance, which is pretty much the same thing. It's pretty much a PvE exclusive ability. You can use it in PvP sometimes. It's just that it locks you down. You have to be at a safe distance if you want to get the best out of shooter stance. Most of the time in PvE will probably be like a C tiered ability. Barely making it into B. I'm gonna put it down here as C. Stopping power, in my opinion, is an A tiered ability, simply because you can use it even without any bullet in the chamber, right? Meaning that you can shoot, roll, shoot, stopping power, which is insanely powerful combination. On top of that is a stagger, and is very, very good. And yeah, most of the musket use this ability because, again, it's an ability that you can use without having any bullets in the musket, which you cannot say the same about power shot and about powder burn, or about, well, basically anything on the musket. Then we had traps. In my opinion, traps is a very high A tier ability, almost an S tier ability. This ability, it's an insanely good ability. It locks down melee players with a 3-second root. You have 2 traps, meaning that you can, through traps back to back, locking down any player for a very long duration. It has a very strong rend as well, and you also heal for 100% of the damage that you do. And if that wasn't enough, that ability gives you an insane amount of movement speed if you have the perk, making traps an insanely powerful ability. And then we have Sticky Bomb. A Sticky Bomb is like a high C tiered ability into a low B tiered ability. The problem with Sticky Bomb is that it's incredibly hard to land. 1. Number 2, very low range. Number 3, very slow trajectory, right? Number 4, it has a time explosion, meaning that the enemy knows when it's going to explode a lot of the time. And it locks you down and slows your character movement tremendously. The animation is too clunky, the range is too short, and it can be easily dodged. All right. Then we have the Blunderbuss. Shrapnel Blast is an S tier ability for the Blunderbuss. This is by far the highest damage ability in the Blunderbuss when it comes to reliability in close range. It leaves a grenade on the floor that it also deals a pretty substantial amounts of damage. Leashing Shrapnel Blast is also very good to help you with a little bit of sustain. Shrapnel Blast, in my opinion, makes Blunderbuss. If Blunderbuss did not have Shrapnel Blast, it would probably be a shit weapon, to be honest with you. Grappling hook, it's like a low A tiered ability. It's an A tiered ability overall. It's a root ability that gives you an extra bullet, so you can do some pretty good amounts of damage. The main problem with this ability is the limited range that it has, and it just doesn't do any damage. It just roots the enemy, and it gives you the ability to have one extra bullet. Probably the best thing about grappling hook is a stamina regeneration buff that lasts a very long time and is very, very useful. In and out, upon usage, it restores a stamina every second for 10 seconds, meaning that this ability alone will give you 80 stamina even if you miss it. You don't even need to hit the enemy to get that 80 stamina, and that is very, very useful. Then we have Net Shot. Net Shot is an S tier ability. It's an ability that slows the enemy. It's an ability that you can use to disengage. It's an ability that deals very, very, very surprisingly high amounts of damage. And it has an exhaust as well that is very decent, making Net Shot an S tier ability because you can use it to run away or to catch an enemy. And that versatility alone makes that ability tremendous. Then you have Plague Splitting Grenade. Plague Splitting Grenades is an A tier ability. Very high damage, very good anti-heal, very good burn. The only problem with it is the slow animation, and it's an incredibly predictable ability. If you use it on large scale PvP, it's S tier. If you use it on small scale PvP, it's a free shuriken heal proc, right? Because the enemy uses a splitting grenade on you, you're like, oh shit, thank you. Roll the explosion, free shuriken heal. It's very predictable, but it is incredibly, incredibly good. And for the first time in this tier list, we're going to be rating an ability D tier. And that is going to be Motor Charge. Motor Charge, it is as bad as it gets. This ability has barely no use in anywhere in the game. It's an ability that locks you down in an animation that you're not allowed to roll, you're not allowed to weapon swap, and you are not allowed to use any other Blunderbuss ability. That alone makes this ability an incredibly garbage ability. It slows down your movement and speed. The trajectory of the missile is very fucking clunky as well. And it's just an incredibly bad ability overall. One great thing that AGS can do to make Motor Charge a decent ability, just let us walk at normal speed. Let us roll when we're using Motor Charge. You are already limiting us to not be able to weapon swap. And you are already limiting us to not be able to use any other Blunderbuss ability. We are forced 100% to use Motor Charge. So let us move. Let us drink potions. Let us play as if it was a regular weapon with a regular ability. There is no reason why you need to lock down the character with 7 different negative effects. 7 different negative effects just so they can go. It is so fucking ass. Let the players have full control of their character. Let them roll, let them jump, let them move. Just change all of its ability and basic attack for the poop, and that's it. If you do that, Motor Charge will go from D tier to a high B tier into a maybe even low A tier. But right now, it is shit tier. Then we have Blast Shot. Blast Shot is a B tiered ability, high B tier, maybe A tier. And the reason why is because Blast Shot, it's very predictable, very close range, very high cooldown, very little damage, right? So Blast Shot, you only use it so you can use another ability. Once again, it's like a setup ability that it has, too many negatives, and just the negatives outweigh the positive, and that's why it's just a B tier ability. Again, very low cooldown, very little damage, very predictable, and it's relatively close range. Blast Shot is S tier funny though? Yes, it is S tier funny, yes. Then we have Pillar of Fire. All right, on this part right here, it's when everything went crazy. The video was going super good, and once we got to this point, chat just started rage baiting me for an entire almost 2 hours. All right, this was gonna be like an hour video because obviously there's like 80 plus abilities, and given that I take 1 minute on each ability explaining how they work, it will be more like an hour and a half. But after I was done recording the video, it ended up being a 3-hour video. Why? Once again, chat started rage baiting me, and I had to cut all of that out. But if you guys want to see the full interaction, which for you it might be funny, for me, I lost my voice. I almost threw my window out the chair. You know what I meant to say. But anyways, this went super long. I'm gonna leave right now. If you want to go check in the description of the video, I'm gonna put the timeline on the stream exactly when we started talking about Pillar of Fire and how everything went downhill from there. At one point, I even had to ignore chat, otherwise I was not able to move on. Unfortunately, you guys are gonna see some clips or some sections of me still arguing and yelling and talking about the Pillar of Fire situation. In my personal opinion, I still stand by it. Anyways, I'm gonna let you guys watch it, but remember, if you want to watch the full rant and the full 2 hours of chat rage baiting me, I'm gonna leave the timestamp on the description below. You guys continue. A tiered ability, but after the 50% nerf to Pillar of Fire and the nerf to the perks and the nerf to the damage, it is going to be an A tiered ability because it's reliable and it's easy to use, especially with target lock. But the problem is that Pillar of Fire doesn't do the high amounts of damage. If the enemy is not burning, it doesn't do more than 1,000 damage, and you are pretty much forced to use it with aim lock if you want to get the best out of it. No way. Pillar is definitely S or S plus. No way. An ability that only deals 1,500 to 2,000 damage in a 15-second cooldown is not an S tier ability. And also that it has a 20-meter range. It's very limited to the range, meaning that you are forced to use it from medium to close range. Maximum damage, full fire harnessing, full ignited, fire damage ring. All right, 2,600. Get the fuck out of here. 2,600 with fucking 500 intelligence and full damage. Rain meteor shower. Meteor shower is a low A tiered ability as well. Pretty reliable. It deals a pretty good amounts of damage. It has grit, which you can use in some scenarios, and it's very good. Meteor shower deals way more damage than Pillar of Fire in a clump, and pretty decent. Unfortunately, it's not an S tier ability because all the ability is just damage. That's it. Then we have Fireball. Fireball, it is a low S tier ability, high A tier ability. It is by far the best ability on the Fire Staff when it comes to reliability. This is the bread and butter of Fire Staff. And if Fire Staff did not have Fireball, Fire Staff will be such a dead fucking weapon. It's just the best thing that Fire Staff has, honestly. There we have Incinerate. Incinerate is a D-tiered ability. It's very low range. I love sausages. Juicy, hard, and crispy in my mouth. I bite it, it cracks, juice comes out. Oh my god, that is so fucking tasty. Pillar of Fire needs to be out with Fireball at least. No, it isn't, because Fireball is a better ability than Pillar of Fire. I love sausages. Fireball is a better ability than Pillar of Fire. In my mouth. I bite it, it cracks, juice comes out. Oh my god, that's so fucking tasty. Yo, thank you for the 333 and thank you for the 333. Remember
S tier.
Oh my
S Siter. S tier. S tier.
Oh my
S Siter.
Less range and less damage than Fireball, and they both have the same cooldown. Way better than Fireball. Ain't nobody out there playing Pillar of Fire, Burnout, and something else. Everybody uses Fireball. It's better than Fireball 100% of the times. No way. Absolutely not. Fireball is what allows you to do some decent damage with Pillar of Fire. without fireball applying burning on the enemy,
Trust troll
Pillar of Fire is dog
100.
fucking
Pillar
shit.
anywhere below S tier is a crime.
No, fuck you guys. Pillar of Fire is not fucking S tier. Alright, anyways, Incinerate. Very low range, very low damage, long animation. Flamethrower, also a dog shit ability. Poison Arrow is easy to dodge. Poison Arrow is the only ability in the game that you cannot dodge. You can dodge an aim lock Pillar of Fire if you roll the moment they use Pillar of Fire. You cannot dodge Poison Arrow ever. Poison Arrow will always hit even if you roll the Poison Arrow. Flame. Oh my god! Get the anybody that says that Flamethrower says tier, fucking time their bitch ass out, bro. Get the fuck out of here. Fuck you. You guys are fucking dumb if you guys think this shit is anything better than a D shit tier. Fuck now, dude. You guys almost had me with a Pillar of Fire, but now that you guys are saying that this shit is S tier, now I really know you guys are full of shit. Just hold the bunnies. Eat my fucking ass. Fuck you. Fuck you. Yeah. Get the fuck out. Any dude, get the... Man, fuck you. I thought you guys were actually fucking with me with the Pillar of Fire, and I almost fucking gave in, dude. I was this close and be like, you know what? Fuck you guys. But you guys saying that Flamethrower is anything better than this shit? Fuck you. Divine Embrace. S tier ability. Dude, Pillar has to go S tier. How are we moving on when Pillar of Fire, Fireball, Meteor is meta in every backline war? Have you really never been in a war? You use Pillar of Fire because you have nothing better to use! Not because it's S tier! Fuck! God damn! Anyways, Divine Embrace, very low cooldown. That shit is amazing. Oh my god, dude. Pillar of Fire A tier, brother. You are pure crack. Pillar has to move. I am not moving the Pillar of Fire to S tier. Then we have Sacred Ground. S tier ability. Best ability in the game. Best ability in the game. Bro named his cat Pillar. No, I didn't name my cat Pillar. Even the cat knows Pillar is S tier. Pillar hits can. Oh my fucking god, dude. Oh my fucking god, dude. You guys are making me sweat. Then we have Overprotection. Overprotection is also like yeah, Overprotection is an A tiered ability. It's also very easy to land, very good protection, very good healing, but you know, it's not in the same level of a Sacred Ground. Orb is nice, just like Pillar of Fire. It's easy to hit, just like Pillar of Fire, and it does some nice healing, just like Pillar of Fire. Then we have Light Embrace. Light Embrace is an S tier ability because Light Embrace for a single target in small scale PvP is incredibly fucking powerful. It gives you a lot of stamina, you know, it gives you a lot of mobility, very high healing, and for an assassin squad, Light Embrace is super fucking good, and there shouldn't be any assassin squad playing without Light Embrace. Super, 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 super good. Then we have Beacon, which in my opinion, Beacon is also an S tier ability. It lasts way too fucking long. It has a lot of goddamn heals, and the range is fucking humongous. Oh my god, chat, you guys are not even paying attention to my fucking list anymore, bro. All you guys are just talking is Pillar of Fire now. You guys are not even talking about the other abilities. Stop ignoring chat. Pillar of Fire says tier. Eat my ass. All right. Then we have Windshield. Windshield, it's a pretty nice, decent A-tiered ability. Very high damage, low cooldown. It pushes enemy back. It gives you grit, and it roots the enemy. It especially with the perk is very, very, very good. Not until you admit that Pillar of Fire says tier is meta and also real good war players. Keep talking shit. I'm gonna put Pillar of Fire even lower. All right. Then we have Ice Spike. Ice Spike is an S tiered ability. Very low cooldown, very high damage, very, very rewarding. The only difficult part about it is the difficulty to hit, and the ability on its own, it is incredible. It's super, super, super good. Oh, you guys still talking about Pillar of Fire? All right. Then we have Ice Storm. Ice Storm is one of the best abilities in the entire game. Best AoE damage in the game. Easier to hit than Pillar of Fire. It slows the enemy.
Ozod_cheered X100. Can anyone name the S tier ability that delivers massive burst damage with a quick cast, making it lethal in both PvP and PvP? Hint, its fast animation allows reliable combos and kill confirms, while the weapon perk and passives amplify damage to extreme levels. With one of the highest damage per cooldown ratios, it punishes grouped enemies and single targets alike, making it a core ability for any Fire Mage build.
Thank you, ChatGPT. Second of all, fuck you, ChatGPT. Okay. Then we have what do we have? Oh yeah, we were talking about Ice Spike. Then we have Ice Shower. Ice Shower is an S tier ability. What Ice Shower does in any sort of PvP, it is incredible. It's one net shot S tier.
Jacob cheered X100, put Sacred Ground at top of S tier or im unsubbing. WTF are you doing?
All right, let's make a poll. Any single person that is voting that Fire Staff, Pillar of Fire S tier, you guys don't play Fire Staff. I mean it in wars. You don't even do wars. Neither do you. Fuck you, bro. Fuck you! Somebody get the guy out of here! Somebody fucking get him out of here! The entire community has agreed that if Pillar is S tier, the entire community wanted Fire Staff nerf, and look at it now! Nobody plays it! There's not a person playing Fire Staff! Fuck you! Oh my god, and look at this absurd fucking result, dude! It still needs some nerf, to be honest. I play Fire Staff. No, you fucking don't. No, you fucking don't. No, you fucking play Fire Staff. Finally, S tier for Pillar of Fire. Okay, can we move on now? On second thought, maybe it's A tier. That's what I'm saying, bro. That's what I've been saying this whole time. You guys are dead to me. You know what? Paladin is best. Paladin is a B tiered ability. Paladin is a B-tiered ability that, depending on the build, can be A-tier. Alright, but for most scenario, it's a B-tiered ability. I misclick. It isn't. It is not. Fuck. No, I cannot fucking do it right now, early, because Shaq for 1.5 hours was fucking telling me that Pillar of Fire is S tier. I had to fucking stop the fucking tier list, go to the game, put on fucking shitload of damage, use a Pillar of Fire, show everybody that it only did 2200 damage, and everybody's like, oh, bro, how is Pillar in S tier? It isn't. It's A. I misclicked. Moving on. Fuck. S tier ability, one of the best abilities in the game, Ice Block. It makes everything. I mean, I don't even want to do this fucking tier list anymore. Ice Block, one of the best abilities in the entire game. This ability allows you to get rid of every debuff that is on you. It allows you to get your stamina back. It allows you to just block any unnecessary ability that you don't want to get hit by. If you're fighting against anybody that has a dot BO, Entomb immediately counters the dot BO. Pillar of Fire breaks Ice Block too. Oh my god. We don't need a new fucking vote! Seriously, Ice Block might be one of the best abilities in the game. And then people want Ice Block to be in the same category as a Pillar of Fire? An ability that deals 2000 damage? Then we have Scream. An S-tiered ability. One of the best anti-heals, if not the best anti-heal in the game. It is also a root, it's a stagger, and it can be one of the longest root in the game whenever the enemy is below 50% health. Super fucking strong in pretty much every scenario. I do think Pillar of Fire is top OP. To be fair, you should move Ice Block to A and Pillar of Fire to S. Dude, oh my god, dude. Bottom! Pillar of Fire is bottom S tier, chat. The reason why Pillar of Fire is bottom S tier is because, you know, even though it has a small damage and a limited range, the fast animation and the lockdown, you know, is very reliable damage. It has to be. No, it isn't. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. You guys, no, 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 no. No, no, no. No, the deal was S tier. No. Void Blade. Void Blade is an A tiered ability. While Void Blade does a very good and consistent amount of damage, Void Blade is very predictable. We don't care about Void Blade. Oh, yeah, now you guys don't care about Void Blade. The only ability in Fire Stat that serves here is Fireball. Yes. Thank you, Shanks. Void Blade is A tier. The only problem with Void Blade is that you are incredibly predictable whenever you have the Void Blade out. So people can really punish you if you have the Void Blade out at the wrong time. Now, with that being said, Void Blade is relatively easy to get some good uses out of it. Why? Because you just gotta press left click. You know, it doesn't take a lot. You open the Void Blade, you start swinging onto the enemy, and you beat the shit out of them. Very good damage. It recently got a 15% nerf. So, you know, it lost a little bit of value. And in my opinion, one of the things that makes the Void Blade the strongest, it is not even the Void Gauntlet itself, but 300 Constitution. 300 Constitution makes Void Blade unnecessarily strong because Void Blade can be CC'd, and it's very easy to CC when the enemy is, you know, pressing left click. But then they go to a 300 Constitution, and all of the downsides of the Void Blade pretty much disappear with a 300 Constitution. Then we have Oblivion. Oblivion is an S-tiered ability. Oblivion gives you stamina. It removes all of the buff from the enemy. It gives you an empowered, and it's a very good range, and it does a very, very consistent and very nice amounts of damage. A lot of people downplay the Oblivion, but Oblivion has an incredible amount of damage. Oblivion deals 28% weapon damage per second, grants an empower to sell by 50%, and on top of that, it weakens the enemy. It is such an powerful ability. Super, super, super good. Tether is an S-tiered ability. It's a 20% weaken, a 20% empower, and a very good slow as well if you have the perk. Whenever you hit somebody with Tether, the chances of you winning the fight, it skyrockets. And if you get hit by a Tether, the chances of you winning the fight immediately fucking... Oh my fucking god. Chat, I already put Pillar of Fire S tier. Can you guys just shut the fuck up? I just watched an old video of you and you said that Pillar of Fire is the best skill in the game. Show it to me. Let me see that video. Alright, then we have Orb of Decay. Orb of Decay is also an S-tiered ability. It deals more damage than Pillar of Fire. Right? It has the same range as Pillar of Fire. Okay? It can slow the enemy, which Pillar of Fire doesn't. It can heal you. And it can remove all of the buff that the enemy has. Orb of Decay, it is such a good ability. High damage, very good sustain with the heals, very easy to utilize, very reliable. Super, super good an ability. Then we have Essence Rupture. For PvP, Essence Rupture is a D-tiered ability, unfortunately. It's just not good enough. It's not that it's not a good ability, it's just that the other abilities for PvP outshine the ability, you know. It's just niche in most scenarios, and when it comes to PvP, this ability definitely needs to be reworked. That shit doesn't hit hard at all.
For crying out loud, can you please just ignore these people?
I can't ignore them. I haven't moved on early. We're still in the same fucking place where you left. Anyways.
Jacob cheered X100. You can ignore them, baby girl. Just dig deep, queen.
The fucking call me baby girl. What the fuck is this shit? Alright, leadership is S tier. 10% damage to everybody just by having this. That is pretty fucking good. Pretty amazing. No brainer. Defensive formation, also S tier. This one gives 30% damage mitigation to everybody that is inside of the fucking big circle. Amazing. Amazing. One of the best ATVs in the game. Flourish and finish has to be S tier because you wouldn't be able to do the big burst of finish without, you know, without this. So this is pretty mandatory when it comes to that big damaging of the flourish and finish. Then we have, what the fuck is this thing called? Adagio. Momentum is insanely good. Whenever you're going for an evade build, momentum is a lot of fucking damage. Really, 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 really good. Defy Death, also S tier. Chat, I don't care about your polls. Fine. Yeah, anyways, Defy Death, S tier. Then we have the other one for the Hatchet. I don't know what it's called. Hitting a target with a throw Hatchet extend the duration of all the Hatchet debuff you apply by 20%. And all of your attacks deal 4% additional base damage per debuff on the target. That is incredibly powerful if you're going to go for a throw Hatchet build, making that a no-brainer. You 100% have to pick that. Then we have Better Together. Better Together is like an all A tiered ability.
100. I've not watching you a lot but saw you are doing tier list and I saw that Puff is so low. Why? It's single-handedly the best ability for Fs. Low scale PvP, low CD, instant AMG, just its overall perfect ability. WTF?
Anyways, Better Together. Better Together is decent. It's a very nice, consistent heal. You know, nothing bad to say about it. It's not a big heal to be like an S tier, but it's a very nice, consistent heal. Then we have the Human Shield. Hitting a target with an ability while within 6 meters of an ally applies a status effect, linking yourself a single ally each other 5 seconds. While the effect is active, the ally will only take 50% of the incoming damage, causing you to take 35% of the incoming damage they didn't take. That is incredibly powerful if you are a tank flail. If you're a tank flail, that is S tier. If you're not a tank flail, it's pretty much useless. So it's going to average at around an A tier right here, simply because it is incredibly powerful, but it forces you to be in heavy or a very high medium build to get the best out of it. Then these ones are the spear. This one is whenever your stamina is full, you do more damage. There's not going to be a scenario pretty much ever where you will be full stamina with a spear, because simply with a spear, most of the time, it forces you to do a roll ability. So there's going to be very little times where you're going to be full stamina with a spear to get the best out of it. This one, in the other hand, this is S tier. This, it deals 10% damage based on how many debuff the enemy has. So if the enemy has 3 debuff, you're already doing 30% more damage. And most of the times, the enemy is going to have 3 or more debuff as long as you're playing with a spear. Because you hit the enemy with a skewer, you apply like 4 debuff, right? You apply the bleed, you apply the weaken, and you're probably going to apply the damage over time from the gem. And the spear has so many debuff that makes this one right here incredibly powerful in a lot of motherfucking scenarios. Then we have Bloodlust. Bloodlust, in my opinion, is way too fucking good. Bloodlust needs to be nerfed. They need to reduce the movement speed of Bloodlust by 50%. With a recent nerf to haste and Bloodlust did not get touched whatsoever. So everybody is moving slower now, and Bloodlust still move at the same time, at the same speed as it was before. So people have now less escapability, and Great Axe didn't get touched whatsoever. Great Axe with a combination of Bloodlust, Reap, and Charge makes that weapon literally impossible to escape, regardless of whatever weapon you're playing. If you're playing Bow Rapier, you cannot escape. You're playing Fire Staff Rapier, you cannot escape. You can literally not escape Great Axe simply because of Bloodlust. It's way too overpowered, and it takes zero to no effort whatsoever. All you have to do is just look at the enemy. You get a shitload of movement and speed. You get a shitload of damage. Then we have this one for large scale PvP. This one is incredibly good. Maybe an A tier, S tier. This shit gives you pretty much a cap in power whenever you have your Great Axe. Great Axe attack grants a stacking in power to 3% damage increase. Maximum of 10 stack, meaning that you can get up to 30% in power. You don't really need to get this because the Great Axe already has a lot of empower. You know, you get a 10% in power from over here. If you hit the enemy while they're blocking, you also get a 15% in power, and your basic attacks also give you a 15% in power in combination with Honing Stone and in combination with like Slash Damage Ring. It puts you pretty much at empower cap. This right here, the Molest Fury, it is sort of like a counterpart in case that you get weakened. So if you get weakened, Molest Fury can still supersede that weaken to give you that 50% damage increase at all given time, but it's not necessary. But just because it's not necessary does not mean that it's really fucking strong. It is really strong, giving you a 30% in power as long as you're fighting in a clump. Then this one is the one from the Warhammer from Mighty Gobble, right? So Mighty Gobble now has Grit, a critically hit chance increased by 20% and reduces all of your Warhammer cooldowns by 10%. Then this thing right here is a culmination of Mighty Gobble, making Mighty Gobble the full ability, which there was no place in hell that you will ever pick Mighty Gobble without picking this ability right here. Whenever you target hit with a Warhammer, you slow them by 20% for 4 seconds. Honestly, that is not that good. That's like a B tier. Then this one over here is for the life staff, correct? The Greatsword. Oh, this is Greatsword. Hitting a foe with a Greatsword, reduce the cooldown on the light attack by 2% and charge attack by 10%. It's A tier. It's not super amazing, but it's very good. That is A tier. And then the other one is that heal for 5% of the damage done from attack, attacking within 3 seconds of blocking, attack heal for 50% of damage done. Also A tier. These both of these are pretty good. This is like having refreshing move, and this is like having a little bit of, you know, more self-sustain. It doesn't take away, but honestly, most of the time you can play a Greatsword without taking any of these two, and you will be just fine. Then this is the bow. The dodge 15% in power is S tier. That's a no-brainer. You roll, you get damage. It doesn't get any easier than that. Super, super, super good. The headshot one, this one is like a C tier. It's just not good enough. And simply because as a bow player, you should not be going for headshots. Whenever you land a headshot, you deal 20% more damage. But then on this one right here, you dodge and you do 15% more damage all of the time. Headshot, non-headshot, and regardless, you know. So evasive tactics will always be better than concussion pretty much any given time. Concussion, I'm gonna put it in D tier. Then for the musket, this one over here is also D tier. I'm gonna show you guys what that one is. So that one is grants 15% damage increase to all of your headshots. Once again, whenever you play with musket, you're not really hitting for those. You're really not hitting for those headshots, making this ability incredibly unreliable. And the thing is, whenever you have something like lethal combo that increases your musket base damage by 17% against a target with a musket debuff, that's a no-brainer, right? Because what do you rather do? 17% more damage always, or 15% more damage to a headshot? That right there is a goddamn no-brainer. And this is lethal combo is S tier, while Deadeye is shed tier. And then this is for the Blunderbuss. Unload is A tier. It is very decent. It gives you 2 extra pellets whenever you use an ability. It got nerfed, you know, it's not that crazy. It's, you know, it just adds like an attunement damage if you able to land all 8 pellets. For PvE, it's much better than it is for PvP. For PvP, it just add a decent amount of damage, but, you know, it's just A tier. Double Down, I will have to put it on B tier. While Double Down gives you the ability to use the abilities twice in a row, it has a very long cooldown and is inconsistent and unreliable a lot of the time, because you will need to use the perfect ability that you want to get the cooldown back. And sometimes the cooldown comes back and you use an ability that you did not want to get the cooldown off of. So since it's unreliable for most of the time, it's B tier because you have very, very little control when it comes to this ability. And on top of that, it forces you to go all the way down on the right side of the Blunderbuss, which most of the time is not a good thing to do, because 9 out of 10 times you play with Shrapnel Blast and Net Shot, which are 2 staple abilities for the Blunderbuss, and you will have to sacrifice either the grenade on Shrapnel Blast or the damage on Net Shot if you want to go double down, which is something that I don't really recommend for any scenario. Then you have Rune of Helios. In my opinion, Rune of Helios is very bad as well. It's either D or C tier. It forces you to stand on top of the circle, which in PvP is incredibly unreliable, and you will never, ever, ever stand on top of that, you know, on top of that rune doing damage in PvP unless the enemy has no eyes, no hands, and they don't see you. And with the recent buff to Backdraft has been outshining Rune of Helios tremendously. You know, Backdraft is a easy A tier right now. Very high burst damage if you're able to proc that 3rd heavy attack. And yeah. Then let's go into the light staff. This one right here, whenever you heal an ally that is below 50% health, they're healed for 30% more. That is really fucking good. That is S tier because, again, why wouldn't you get that? Then on the right side, we have Magnify. Whenever you heal a target with Light Embrace, extend the duration on their buff on that target by 2 seconds. I'm gonna be honest with you. This is probably the only one that I have the least amount of knowledge and experience with. And by seeing the buff that he has, that it only extended by 2 seconds, I don't know if that will be a considerable choice. For most scenarios, it does extend your buff for 2 seconds, but in my opinion, that cannot be better than a B tier perk. Then we have the Ice Gauntlet. This one is the ultimate on the left side of the Ice Gauntlet. Right here, ultimate shield. Ice Gauntlet ability, shield target increasing the ice damage dealt to that target by 25% for 3 seconds. Ice pylon attacks do not apply shield. Very good, and nonetheless, that is an S tier thing that is incredibly fucking powerful. Super, super strong, making the Ice Gauntlet always do 25% more damage just for free, right? Then on the right side, you have the pylon. This one goes hand in hand with the pylon. Just makes the pylon, you know, regenerate health and have a bigger range. And if you're going to play with pylon, you have to play with this. But since pylon is a B tiered ability, this thing has to be a B tiered ability as well. Then is Void Gauntlet. And both Void Caller and Glimpse of the Void, they're both S tier. Whenever Void Caller procs with the Void Blade, they are basically a powerhouse, and you should definitely not fight them whenever Void Caller is around them. It's going to heal them for a lot. It's going to deal massive amounts of damage. You really do not want to be next to a Void Gauntlet player whenever they are using a Void Caller and whenever they proc it. And then we have a Glimpse of the Void, which is also an S tier ability. It refreshes all of your Void Gauntlet abilities whenever you hit the enemy with that heavy attack. It is incredibly useful in 1v1, super powerful in large-scale PvP, and overall, Glimpse of the Void is a super fun ability to use. Hard to pull off, but when you do pull it off, it is insanely powerful. And this is the tier list right here, boys. This is the whole tier list. I don't know. What do you guys think? Here, let me make it a little further back so you guys can see everything. This is Invalid Pillar of Fire. It is on the top of this tier.